Well, good morning and welcome to the Gym Owners Fitness Business Podcast. Today, I'm speaking to Julian Barnes, co-founder and CEO of BFS. Now, I'm very, very excited about this because Julian's going to talk to us all about his network, all about the industry report that he's just released, and so much more. So let's kickstart the Gym Owners Fitness Business Podcast. Welcome, Julian.
Mel, thank you so much for having me, for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm very excited to have you on board this morning, and I'm really excited about the industry reports. As I was reading it during the week, there's so much information in there that is so valuable to our industry. But before we kick off into the report, I'm gonna have to ask you, tell me all about BFS. When did it start? What's it about? And what are you doing for the industry?
So BFS stands for Beauty, Fitness, and Self-Care. And my business partner, NTE Tuck, and I started the company in 2018. Prior to COVID, we produced conferences. Think of it as small one-day versions of like the Fuel Summit or Mind Body Bold or FIBO. Well, one-day versions of that in New York, Chicago, and in DC. When COVID appeared in 2020, we launched our peer network, which is like Rex Roundtable, except it's for owners and executives of boutique fitness studios. So that is the core of our business now, is running peer networks. And these are for companies that are ready to scale. Typically, they're multi-location businesses, multi-million in revenue and profitable, and they are focused on going from 5 to 10 or 5 to 20, as opposed to people who are starting a studio for the first time. There are some great resources out there in the world for people who are just starting a studio. We generally don't work with that level. We work with mid-stage and above businesses that are already in business, already have solid teams, solid processes, and they want guidance and assistance getting to the next level. So we run a peer network. We provide executive trainings on things like franchise business accelerator or studio operations optimization. And we produce an annual state of the industry report, which we'll talk about today. But it's a lot of data. Everything we do is to help studio owners scale and get to the next level.
So let's just talk a little bit before we go into the industry report. You spoke about that you have a peer network. You also have an institute and a marketplace. Is that correct?
We do. The Institute is the global name for our trainings. At the moment, we have two trainings that we offer. One is for owners and managers who want to go back and build the foundation of a profitable business and learn about the fundamentals of studio operations from mission, vision, value, all the way to SOPs for sales, marketing, hiring, managing. So just the basics of running a business. So that's our studio operations optimization program, and it's led by Jennifer Manavy, the founder of Physique 57 in New York City, who's been in business 19 years. She is one of the most accomplished operators in the industry, and we asked her to develop and lead the course. The second training we have is called the Franchise Business Accelerator, and that is for existing franchises that typically have 20 to 75 locations, and they have 25 to 75, and they want to get to 500 to 1,000. And it's similar to the studio ops in that the focus is on learning the fundamentals and the foundation of building a franchise business model that can scale. What we know is that through hard work and effort and perseverance, somebody can open and sell 10, 20, 25 franchises, but it's hard to scale from 25 to 250 if you don't have the proper processes in place. So the person who leads our franchise accelerator is the former CEO of Massage Envy, but more than that, he's the one who took them from 3 locations to 1,200 before he retired. You'll find his name on our website if you're interested. So what we're doing And those are the first two. We probably have another 7 or 8 trainings that we have in mind over the next 18 to 24 months. They're all going to be focused on some aspect of scaling, and they're all going to be led by people with impeccable resumes and track records of success in that aspect. There are a couple people we're thinking about who I know you know well, but we'll wait until the fall before we announce those names. But that's what the Institute is to provide access to world-class experts in different aspects of scaling for those studios that aspire to scale. And the marketplace is where we have uh, relationships with vendors, suppliers, and again, other companies, whether it's equipment companies or real estate brokerage companies or marketing companies. We want to make it easy for the operator to identify every possible resource they need to scale so they never need to say, well, where do I go to find that? You come to BFS to find every aspect, every resource, every relationship that you need to help you scale. That is our focus. BFS equals scaling, scaling businesses to the next level.
I absolutely love that. I love that you've got a peer network because you can have that down to earth conversation with people that are doing what you're doing every day. I love the fact that the Institute allows, resources and tools to grow because we all want to do that. And the marketplace, I mean, what is our industry without suppliers? We can't operate without them. So it's great that we can tap straight into them through BFS. So
Absolutely.
for somebody that's new to the industry, I know that you spoke earlier on about you're not kind of involved in the startups, but at the scale growth. What
Mid
what
stage and
does
scaling.
what does a boutique look like? What is a boutique studio?
What is a studio or what is a successful, profitable studio? Which
Well,
question are we
because both. What do they
okay?
look like?
Well, profitable studios are well-run studios. They generally have a manager they generally have a dedicated manager whose primary responsibility is creating and overseeing the implementation of standard operating procedures, everything from call scripts to how do we handle first-time visitors, how do we handle long-time members who cancel within 24 hours and object to the cancellation fee. There's a SOP for every aspect of running the studio so that the operator, the owner, can actually take a 2 week vacation and the business continues to run itself because she has a team, she has SOPs, everyone knows what they need to do. That's what a profitable studio looks like. They're finding new clients, new leads consistently. They're implementing SOPs to convert those new leads into recurring payments. They are implementing best practices for client experience to minimize churn and increased LTV. And they're generating those leads from referrals because the long LTV means happy members. There are SOPs to encourage those happy members to refer new clients. So it becomes a marketing flywheel as opposed to a marketing funnel.
So, Julian, you spoke about in your report how profits have doubled, and you also spoke about referral strategies. Do you think that some of the double profits has come from the referral strategies that are in studios?
Absolutely. Let me take a step back and share a couple things. May I share my screen?
Absolutely. You should be able to do that.
Nope, I need your permission.
Should be okay now.
Okay, here we go. So first, let me say that we had over 400 responses to this survey worldwide, and Australia came in third place with the number of studios represented in the survey. It was US and then Canada and then Australia. So it'll be great to see Australia pass Canada next year. Let's get some more representation. And every modality was included, and we divided, at least in the US, we divided the responses by market size. So we didn't compare we didn't compare a Pilates studio in a big city to a yoga studio in the suburb. We compared Pilates studios in big cities to other Pilates studios in other big cities. We did the same thing for strength and the same thing for yoga. And then we had another category for all. So unless I say otherwise, I'm referring to the all category when I'm giving numbers here. And what you see here is that um, the number of studios that earned a profit of 20% or more increased from 9.2 to 17.4% between 2022 and 2024. So that's the doubling that you refer to. But I wanted to be specific. It's not doubling of the studios that are profitable, doubling of the studios generating a profit of 20% or more. And why 20%? Well, most um, business brokers will tell you that to maximize your sale price when you're ready to sell your studio, you want to be at 30% profit margin, ideally 30%. So 20% is getting closer to that. So we chose 20% for our purpose. So from 9.2 to 17.4%. Now your question, the second takeaway, not the second, but one of the other takeaways in our report was that profitable studios are relying on referrals. And you can see here that um, we asked the question, what was your most effective lead gen tactic? And by 2 to 1, more people said referrals than any other option. Paid ads was second, and organic social media third. So it's important to note that paid ads was still second, right? We're not saying referrals only, and you don't need to do paid ads. We're saying among the profitable studios that participated in our global survey, referrals was the number one response by 2 to 1.
So, Julian, can I just ask why? Why are referrals making such a big comeback? Because for years and years, you would have to agree, we've spoken consistently about paid digital ads, this platform, that platform. You have to be on here, you have to be doing that, you have to know who your consumer is, then market to the demographic. Why have we come back to referrals being so successful as opposed to digital?
Well, so I wouldn't say it's as opposed to, because that's why I wanted to indicate that paid digital ads are still a part of the marketing mix for profitable studios, but referrals are more accessible for the average studio owner. If you acknowledge that there are at least two types of studio owners. One is the former trainer, coach, instructor who opens her own studio. The second is the corporate executive who was passionate about Pilates and then decided to leave the corporate world and then open her own studio. Those are two different types of avatars for studio owners. Neither one of those experiences prepares you to learn how to understand how to conduct paid ads. Like meta changes seemingly every day. That's a full-time job to keep track of meta. And if that's if you don't have that expertise in-house, it can seem, and I say in-house because agencies are expensive. So or they can be expensive. So if you don't know how to run the ads yourself, then you get frustrated pretty quickly at all the different changes and playing around with the copy and the color and the size of the image and which image, had the greatest results was image with the white background and the blue. I mean, that's a whole different world. You drive yourself crazy, pull out all your hair, and you look like me. Or referrals, I'm not going to call it easy, I'll call it simpler. right? Referrals is really a fancy way of saying word of mouth marketing. And we know that word of mouth marketing has been effective throughout the history of mankind. One person tells another person tells another person. Doesn't have to be sophisticated. And if you really focus, let's say that you hate sales and marketing and you don't want to devote any time or attention to sales and marketing, you believe that you're a teacher and your method is amazing and you're going to focus on client experience and high fives and hugs and handshakes and making sure that the instructors are delivering a wow experience. If you do that, if you deliver a wow experience every single time, then your students walk out of your studio walking on cloud nine, and inevitably they're going to tell their friends, hey, I'm your friends are going to notice something about you. They're going to ask you, what are you doing differently? And that response will be, oh, I'm going to this yoga class, or I started going to this hit studio. And someone's going to say, well, can I come with you? Or where do you go? So I just think the answer to your question is referrals are easier for people who don't have a technical understanding of how paid ads work, and referrals are effective if you just focus on delivering an amazing wow experience and then encourage your students or members to tell their friends and family and coworkers. That's pretty simple compared to what does this Meta, Instagram, Facebook formula mean?
So, would you agree also that referrals are a better business model for the smaller studio that has, doesn't have the operational spend that the larger studios have?
Not just smaller. Let me show you something that was just posted like 30 minutes ago. So this is real time live. Um, as I think you know, there was um, there was a fitness conference in New York City last week,
Yes, yes.
and this is a post from the co-founder of Walla, and she posted it literally 30 minutes ago, and it's well 30 minutes ago. So in here, I can't increase my screen, but let me just read this. This is from Laura Munkholm in her summary of the conference, and she has a whole section here on referrals. Still queen of client growth. Another recurring theme from the conference, referrals. Approximately 85% of new clients entering fitness businesses still come from referrals. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is your question was about small studios versus larger studios. And look who Laura quoted, the chief marketing officer of Core Power Yoga and the founder of Bar 3, Sadie Lincoln. Those are two huge brands. Bar 3 has 200 locations, and I believe Core Power has 100 plus locations. And they both emphasize that, and I'm reading here, quote, even in an era of digital ads and algorithm obsession, the best marketing tool is still a happy client talking to a friend. That is not limited to um, small studios.
I'm a great fan of Laura. I sat with her on the leadership forum at the HFA earlier on this year. So yeah, Wallow is a great product, and I do believe in referrals. I mean, let's face it. At the end of the day, people come to, health, wellness, and fitness studios for the social interaction, and that's where relationships start, and that's where people talk. And as you said, referrals are very successful. Talk to me about Pilates studios and yoga studios, and talk to me about the success in terms of return of income with Pilates versus return of income for yoga.
It's a tale of two different stories, unfortunately.
They do. So let's talk about that.
So here you can see the profit margins of I mentioned the three categories that we segmented in the report: Pilates, yoga, and strength. And we divided each of those categories by city and suburb. So you can see that Pilates studios in cities, and we define a city as as having a population of 500,000 or more people. City. Pilates studios in city are more likely to have a profit margin of 20% or more. Pilates studios in the suburbs were equally split between 10 to 19% profit and 38% profit. Comparatively, yoga, all yoga, regardless of whether it's city or suburbs, had a profit margin of between 1 and 9%. So, big difference. More than 20%, 1 to 9%. Now, the question is why? And reasonable people can disagree about this, but we believe the answer is basic business. What are the two basic business model? What are the two biggest costs for any retail business, regardless of the product, whether it's a bakery, a salon, a yoga studio, a dry cleaner's shoe repair shop? The two biggest costs are always rent and payroll. And Pilates studios, at least here in the United States, tend to be smaller. Some can have as few as six reformers, many have 12 reformers. So when you have that small size footprint, that two things happen. Number one, that means you're renting a smaller space, so your rent is lower. Number two, because you have fewer people, you can charge more. You're following the scarcity business model. So your rent is lower. You can charge a premium because there are fewer spots available for that reformer. And their payroll is smaller. Quite a few Pilates studios don't have front desk. You'll see them having an iPad for check-in. The instructor is the front desk person and the instructor. They don't have elaborate gyms and, I mean, locker rooms and showers. So they've shrunk their lease to the bare minimum. Space for 12 reformers, maybe a little shoe rack, a bathroom or two, and that's it. It's like no frills. Convert, and so if there's a manager, the manager is not making as much as a big gym manager because the responsibilities are different. Conversely, a yoga studio, I've seen yoga studios that can fit 50 people in there. So when you can put 50 people in something, it's harder to charge a premium for a service that has 50 people taking the same service at the same time. So just think about it. 6 or 12 people versus 50 people. The fewer the people, the more you can charge because it's more scarce. The more people, the harder it is to charge more. So that's the business model answer. Does that make sense?
So it sounds to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the yoga business model that you've just demonstrated sounds like the low price, high volume commercial box clubs that are popping up all over the world, especially here in Australia. So are you saying that those yoga studios have less profit and so would the high volume, low price commercial clubs?
You know, it's interesting. I never thought of it that way. I can see some similarities. I think there's also a cultural difference. So there are two other differences. Number one, if we're talking about reformer Pilates, most people don't have a reformer in their home. Conversely, we can all pull up um, YouTube and find excellent yoga instructors, put out a mat in our home, and we can do yoga. So, because we can do yoga at home and we can't use a reformer machine at home, that means we're more willing to pay more for a service out the home than for something that we think, oh, let me just move the living room around and throw a mat down and I can do yoga. So part of it is the pricing power directly relates to our perception of how much something is worth. Well, I can do this at home. Why am I going to pay that much more for it? Oh, I have to hop in my car and drive 5 miles to Studio Pilates, which is based out of Australia. And by the way, they're opening up a location like a few blocks from me in Harlem. Like that's how global the world has become. There's now an Australian-based Pilates reformer studio opening up a location in Harlem, New York City. Right? I can't do reformer and tower in my living room, but I can do yoga. So I'm going to be more willing to pay more for that reformer class. So that's pricing power is another part of the answer that goes into the business model. But then there's a cultural difference. And I say this without judgment, right? One isn't better or worse. There is a culture within the yoga community that we're not really fitness. We're here to help people uh, heal and live better lives and connect with themselves. And I get it. I I totally understand that's their mission. And oftentimes there is a hesitance among yoga studio owners and managers to adopt traditional sales practices. And there's no such reluctance among Pilates studio owners. They are targeting a market that's willing to pay a premium for classes, and they don't have any shame in that. Whereas sometimes the yoga studio owner doesn't want to charge, or they feel some type of hesitance in charging a premium product. And that's reflected in the this chart here. I mean, the number speaks for itself.
Julian, I just want to move a little bit sideways. Talk to me about strength modality. Talk to me about, I mean, there's a great big boom on the global scale at the moment, or that's about strength training, whether it's in a group fitness room, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in a studio that's purely just based on strength. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and walk through the successes of those business models?
Happy to do so. Let me pull it up here. Okay. So strength studios have been succeeding. And by the way, I would put Pilates in that category, or especially Megaformer Pilates studios in that category. Um, First and foremost, it's a cult. It's a cultural phenomena that started during COVID, when we couldn't leave home and all we could do was body weight stuff in our home. Well, we can all do push-ups. We can all do body squats. We can all grab a can of, you know, vegetables and do some curling and overhead presses. And at the same time, ACSM started publishing a lot of data about the benefits of strength. And at the same time, some very significant influencers, a credible influencers. I'm talking Dr. Stacy Sims. I'm talking Dr. Gabrielle Lyons. Women like this started, well, I guess research came out, and then the influencers like the women I mentioned started, Dr. Rhonda Patrick started talking about the benefits of strength training for women specifically. So I think it was a couple things all came together at the same time, where now there is a greater understanding among many women that strength is vital to longevity, that muscle is vital to longevity. I think several things all came together at the same time. And even though you can do some strength at home, most people don't have the full amount of equipment at home that you have at a gym. So once again, similar to Pilates, if you want to deadlift, if you want to barbell squat, you need more than the 5 or 10 pound dumbbells you have at home. You need to go to the gym. So I think, again, if we're looking at Pilates and strength versus yoga, yoga is something you can do at home in your living room. You can do some core body work at home, but you can't do the full range of strength exercises at home. And I think that's another driver of consumers to strength studios. So what you're looking at here are 12 metrics of profitable strength studios. And first thing you see is the annual yearly revenue. And it's almost a tie between studios that are generating less than half a million and studios that are generating more than 1 million. And by the way, if I didn't mention it earlier, all of these numbers are only for profitable studios, right? So there are profitable strength studios making less than half a million, and there are profitable strength studios earning over 1 million. Their profit margin is generally 10 to 19%. These are bigger spaces than Pilates studios. If it's open gym or HIIT format or group fitness format, they can take 20 to 30 people in a class. You have to buy more equipment, so there's more cost involved. Um, but what's interesting about strength versus yoga and Pilates is that it's the only one of the three modalities where average number of visits per person was 2.6 to 3. All of the others were either 2 to 2.5 or 1 to 2. And we know this is really important because Dr. Paul Bedford from Retention Guru in the UK has said the number one determinant of risk of churn is number of visits. When you're at less than one visit per week, you're at high risk of churn, less than one visit per week. And let me just show you for a quick second. I know you asked about strength, but look at yoga. Yoga's at 2 to 2.5 visits per week, but yoga in suburbs was at 1 to 2 visits per week, right? So strength is close to 3 visits per week. So something could happen, you're sick, your kid's sick, you got a meeting at work, you miss one, you still have two others. Right? You're out of the danger zone of churn if you're coming 3 days a week and there's one week where you're traveling and you just can't get there. Okay, fine. So you're there twice. But if you're 1 to 2 and then something happens, you're not feeling well, you're sick, you're injured, something happens, all of a sudden it's easy to go from 1 to 2 to less than 1. And once you get to less than 1, you're in the danger zone of churn. So strength is on the opposite side of that. It's closer to 3 than yoga and Pilates. Uh, Profitable studios typically have one location. And let me just go back for a second. This is a total digression, but I want to emphasize this point because when people think boutique fitness studios, they generally, especially if they're not in the industry, they generally are talking about the large brands, the global brands, Barry's, Soul Cycle, F45, Orange Theory. And while those are dominant brands, they're not the majority of places where the average person exercises. The average person is exercising at a fitness, at a physical brick and mortar space owned by a person or couple who own one location. And as you can see here, 71% of the studios in the survey had one location. 89% had 3 or fewer locations. So all the data that we presented in our report, or I should say, 90% of the data is based upon independently owned studios with 3 or fewer locations. So we're not talking about Solid Core, Barry's, Orange Theory, F45, Soul Cycle. We're talking about Mel's Gym. We're talking about Julian's Pilates globally. That's the majority of the industry, even though people don't talk about it that way. Does that make sense?
It does, Julian. So I'm just going to ask you a question. Now, the one location, 71%, let's say they're people like Mel's gym. Uh, for many, many, many years, I've constantly said that large commercial clubs and independent business operators can be running boutique fitness studios under one roof.
Yep.
We all seem to have the same issue at the moment. And that is, and I'm going to use the terminology and I don't like it, but the churn and burn. You know, consumers are we are consumers. You're one, I'm one. When the new coffee shop opens, I want to go try the new coffee at the new coffee shop and the new muffin. When a studio opens, I know that my members are going to want to go touch, feel, and have a look at it. I feel that one of the issues that the industry have is retention, but we're constantly out there trying to gain new members. We're not very good at retaining members.
We're
What
not.
what are we doing? What are we doing wrong? And I'm going to say, what are we doing wrong? Why are people going to touch, feel the new shiny object that opens up in our community? Yet we are delivering what they want, the strength classes. We have the reformers in our clubs. We have the yoga classes. We're doing what the media says that the consumer wants, but we're still having a retain problem.
I'm going to give you a controversial answer here, Mel. You ready?
Yeah, go for it.
A lot of the problem is ourselves as an industry. Think about what we have conditioned consumers to do. And by the way, I'm showing this slide here because you asked me earlier, what does a profitable studio look like? Profitable studios are finding new leads, enrolling new leads, and retaining their members. And you asked me about retention. I just wanted to show you the profitable studios are doing these three things. But the problem that we have as an industry, we have so many. Number one, we have a race to the bottom. You mentioned earlier the high volume, low price. Charging $10 or $20 for a membership is lowering the value of fitness and investing in our health. So if we think that it's only costing us $20, I mean, how much do you value something that's only costing you $20? If you're only paying $10 to $20 for it, you're less likely to value it, right?
Julian, I can honestly sit here and say, as a club owner for 22 years, I would rather charge double, if not triple, what I'm currently charging, and
Okay,
half the amount of members and have 70% less headaches. That's
exactly right.
that's the reality of it. I conditioned my market by my pricing when I opened.
Correct.
And now my
Correct.
market is conditioned to what it's not a case of, oh, they only do that every blue moon. Oh, they do something every month. I know that. But I also
So,
I also know when I look out into my community, 2025 sees 115 plus fitness facilities in a community that has a population of 125,000. When I opened
yeah, it's
20
not
years ago,
sustainable.
there was 8 gyms.
Yeah, that's not sustainable. So number one, we've had a race to the bottom. We've devalued our own product. Number two, we focus on trends. When I say we, the industry, we talk about trends. Trends come and go. So if we're going to be a trend-based industry, then we can't be surprised when someone gets tired of the current trend and they're looking for the new trend. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, what's the new trend? And my response is, why are we looking for the new trend? We know what works. Running a business is similar to losing weight. We may have learned a little bit more recently in the last 10, 20 years about how weight loss works, but fundamentally, physics of metabolism, the science of metabolism hasn't changed in 100 years. Consume less, build muscle, move the body, right? There's nothing new. We don't need to create a new method for weight loss. Just like we don't need to create a new method for running a business. We need to do what works. But every January, there's a new series of articles and posts about what's trendy as opposed to what's effective. So we've conditioned the consumer to look for new trend. And if your method is no longer trendy, then you're going to have competition from the new place that is trendy, as opposed to saying we deliver science-based effective exercise programs that have proved over the test of time to achieve these type of goals, whatever the goal is, to train for a marathon, to lose weight, to whatever the different outcomes, right? To rehab from cancer, we have proved that our method does that. If your method works, why do we need a new method, right? So that's number two, trends. And number three is really hot button topic, but it's some, let me emphasize, some third party aggregators who are also contributing to devaluing the price of the product that operators like you are maybe using. And it's okay to use third-party aggregators to supplement your own marketing efforts. Um, but that's not what many operators are doing. Unfortunately, many operators are relying excessively on those third-party operators to fill their space, as opposed to relying on the third-party aggregators to fill the unsold space, which means your job as the operator is to fill 17 of the 20 spots in your class. And if you have 3 spots left within 24 hours, then you tap into a third party aggregator to fill the final three, but you don't use it to fill the first 17. So two of those three answers have the same basis. We as an industry have devalued our own product. So if that's the case, why would we expect any consumer to be loyal to us when we've told them, oh, our product is only worth $10? Or if you wait till the night before, we'll give it to you half price. Why would we expect that person to want to stay?
I agree with exactly what you're saying, and I also just want to touch on briefly when you talked about the trends and used weight loss as an example, irrespective of what programs come out, we know what works for weight loss. It's a little bit about gym equipment. The you can only have so much gym equipment in your club. A chest press is a chest press, is a leg press, is a squat rack, and I kind of totally get over it when gyms are fitting out and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on new equipment to attract new members when theoretically the human body doesn't change. A chest press is a chest press, is a leg squat. And I think you're right in what you're saying. We have devalued our industry. We have become very competitive and price warish, and we're all jumping on the same trends. And with there's certain niches and communities out there that we are forgetting about and we aren't tapping into. It's definitely we are a victim of the shiny new toy that comes out. We jump on it. We all do it.
We do, but here's the thing about it. On the one hand, it's easy to say, well, that's human nature. That's who we all are as humans. On the other hand, I could probably ask you about some of the personal care service providers you use, and I would be willing to bet that you have used some of them for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Whether it's your hair, your nails, your massage therapist, or your doctors, we we don't most of us don't change doctors every year,
True.
right?
True.
And if you find a hairstylist or a barber who you like, or an esthetician who you like, or a massage therapist who you like, we're not changing that person because it's trendy. So it's not solely human nature, because if it was, you would be going to a different hairstylist every month. But that means every month you will be training that person how you like your hair. And you probably don't do that, right?
All right. So are you saying that we as business owners, we chase great service, but we're lazy with our own service?
No, what I'm saying is that human nature, humans have decided that there's some things that they will remain loyal to
Yep.
because the providers of those services have explained the value of consistency and the value of their service. Massage therapist is probably the best example because there are so many of them, but when you find someone who knows your body, the what's the phrase? Uh, Relationships compound over time is the phrase. The relationship between the massage therapist and the client compound over time. The more often the massage therapist works on your body, the better massage you're going to receive because the massage therapist really gets to understand your body. Every time you go to a different massage therapist, you're starting over.
True.
That person has to learn your body. So we know that if you provide value to the client will remain loyal. So I'm answering your question about churn by challenging owners, operators, instructors to both deliver value, to convey value, and to talk about the value they deliver in different ways. Messaging is important. If you tell me, if your very first message to me is half price first class or first class free or 50% off. If your very first message to me is about deals and discounts, why would I ever think of you as anything other than a low price place to go exercise? But if your first conversation to me is not about price, but it's about outcome, and you're asking me questions, why am I here? What brought you to my gym or studio? Where are you in your life? What are you trying to accomplish? And I tell you, I'm recovering from knee surgery. I just had chemo. I just had a baby. I'm training for some specific out. If I give you an outcome, and then you give me a program to achieve that outcome, and you help me achieve that outcome, I'm going to be loyal. So it's up to us as operators to message the reasons why people should come to us and focus on outcomes and not focus on deals and discounts. Deals and discounts, if you lead with deals and discounts, then you can't be surprised when you lose a client to someone else offering a better deal or discount. But if you lead with outcome and you're confident in your program and you're delivering a program that helps your customer achieve the outcome, is that person leaving?
No.
And you can increase the price on that client because you've helped him or her achieve their desired outcome because you asked them up front about their desired outcome, and then you and your instructors delivered a world-class program to help them achieve that outcome. That is how you build loyalty and retention. And then you don't have to worry about someone opening up next door. Great, good for them. But my people are taken care of because I'm delivering value to them, and I'm not talking to them about pricing. I'm talking to them about changing their lives.
Julian, we need to do an episode that's just totally on the outcome.
I
We
mean, that's everything
It's
to
it,
me.
it is really, and I kind of look at what you're saying, and I think about the services that I utilize externally, and I think, yeah, I go back because of that. I go back because of that outcome. I wouldn't go back if it was a lesser outcome. So you're absolutely right in saying that. We jumped on for a 30-minute discussion and we've been online for about 50 minutes. So,
I mean,
and like I said,
that's
in all
to
honesty,
be
really,
expected.
you could definitely jump back online and we could catch up on talking about what outcomes are and how do we put those in place for our members. And we could even talk about some other sales and retention tools to help club owners create a niche for themselves in what is and can be for some many people a highly saturated marketplace. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on briefly before we bring our discussion to an end?
The only thing I mentioned, I mentioned it earlier, but let me just show you as well. Where am I? The one finding that surprised me the most, probably because I wasn't expecting it and I wasn't looking for it, is the correlation between having a manager and higher revenue and higher profit margins. It's not surprising, I just wasn't expecting it. And as you can see, studios and gyms that invest, and I'm using that word very intentionally, invest in having a manager, a dedicated manager, have higher total revenue and higher profit margins. And you could probably answer the question better than I. Why do you think that's the case?
I can tell you
In
right
your
now that
experience,
our
tell them.
turnover has increased since we put a manager in. Beside the empathy, the passion, they enjoy what they're doing, and they take ownership. But they've got to be given that opportunity as well, Julian. There's no point in going in and micromanaging. But I can honestly say to you now, as a club owner, when we put a manager into our club, our turnover did increase, it didn't decrease. Uh, that's all I can say about that. So feel free to jump in there.
Wait, your turnover increased
Yes, it did.
among your members.
Yes,
When you did your revenue increase?
yes,
Your revenue increased.
yes.
Your
So,
churn,
so
yeah, I'm confused.
no, that's okay. That's okay. So we've been open 22 years. We've had a club manager in our club for the last 2.5 years. Every year,
Okay,
every year our revenue has increased. It's never decreased with the exception of COVID, like everybody else. Um,
right?
and I always assumed, and we all know what assume means, it's to make an ass of oneself, that it was because I was in there managing the club on a daily basis and micromanaging. I put a club manager in full time into my business, and our revenue has continued to increase.
Great. It continued to increase. Okay. So is it increasing more? What about your profits? See, we like to focus on profits
Increases.
versus revenue.
Yeah,
Your profit
absolutely.
increased with the manager.
Yes,
Okay. That's what I expect.
yes.
Because when we talked earlier about implementing systems to find, enroll, and retain, someone has to oversee those systems. And that's the manager's job. And the owner and instructor can't be talking to landlords and developing the modality and talking to clients and also implementing the systems is too much for one person to do. So that's why we believe there's that strong correlation.
I'm not sure what you want me to say here.
No, no, just that's just the ending. You asked me what else I wanted to share. That was it. The correlation between having a manager and higher profits and higher revenue.
It's a
Direct
tough
correlation.
gig. Julian, I've got to be honest, there'd be a lot of people out there that would agree who are independent business operators. It's a tough gig to get a manager in because you do feel like that you are the person that has to be responsible for everything that happens under one roof. But we do know that, fresh eyes and allowing someone to come in and to take ownership of that role can mean betterment for your business. And I now strongly recommend to a lot of people to get a club manager in. I know we want to be control freaks and run everything, but yeah, get a club
And
manager in.
anyone who doesn't want to have a manager, I would recommend that they go out and buy the E-Myth Revisited and understand the role of owner, manager, and technician. You can't do all three.
No, you can't. You can't.
You
I've been there,
can't do
done
all
that.
three.
You can't. You can't. You
All
can't.
right. Well, this is
Julian,
fantastic. We appreciate the time.
oh, look, it's been great having you on the show today. Please let our listeners know where is the best place to get in touch with you if they'd like to download your report or have a chat with you about business.
So they can go to bfsnetwork.com and the report's on the homepage. Any operator can receive a free copy of the report by completing the BFS assessment. And it's like 50 questions. When they complete the assessment, they will automatically receive a free copy of our scorecard, which compares every operator in 6 KPIs to the industry. So they get a free scorecard, they get a free copy of the report just by completing the assessment. bfsnetwork.com. To reach me, find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Instagram, Julian Barnes NYC, and it's at the BFS Network on Instagram. So we're all over the place. BFS Network.
BFS Network. Julian, thank you for your time today. I have been a watcher of your work for many, many years. You do a fantastic job, and I hope that we can catch up in another episode on the Gym Owners Fitness Business Podcast. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Mel.